Hey there, boys and girls. It's Ralph Garman, and you're listening to Talking Codswallop. Good choice.
Hello, everybody. This is Ming Chen from AMC's Comic Book Man. You might know me from the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast and the I Sell Comics podcast. Listen, I love podcasting. I love talking, but what I really love doing is talking Codswallop.
Hey, I'm Alicia Witt.
I'm Daniel Portman from Game of Thrones. I play Podrick Payne.
I'm Ellipses, and you're listening to the Talking... Okay, I'm Mark Bernard, and you're listening to the Talking Codswallop podcast.
Hey man, it's Kevin Smith, Silent Bob, whose voice you were never used to hearing in the 90s until I started opening it up, man. And that's because I'm a podcaster and you're listening to a podcast, Talking Codswallop, right here, man.
Welcome to this week's Talking Codswallop. I am Gemma.
I'm James.
We've got two special guests this week, and I'm going to hand over to James to do the introductions because he actually knows them a heck of a lot better than I do. So take it away.
So using the term special could be used very interestingly to describe these two, but it's not going to be like that. These are two of my very close friends. We brought them on especially because for those who do listen to the show, you will know that I had a prank done to me, and we've got the two masterminds of this wonderful prank on today to discuss that and many other interesting things. So without further ado, whatever the term is, I've never quite pulled that one together. We have two of my friends, Ben Buckley and Lyndon Prescott. So, gentlemen, whoever wants to go first.
Well, I think I'll let Lyndon first because he masterminded it, really.
Well, thank you for having us on the show. Well, home not alone, where do we start? February 2021. That is when I put my house on the market, the previous house that we sold. What basically happened and how this all came about was that my wife, Jennifer, was looking for a house and found one. And ironically, it was just up the road from where Ben lives. So, long story short, we had to chat with Ben. Ben was egging us on to buy it.
Just point out, I tried to dissuade him. I said to him, it's an awful area, it's terrible schools. I like Jen. I didn't really want Lyndon near me, but one of those things, he agreed to come.
Yeah, so basically, it was I don't know now, it was quite funny how it all came about. We viewed the house, loved it, did a second viewing. Against all the odds, we managed to buy the property whilst ours wasn't on the market, and we sold ours within a few days of viewing the property we're in now. So me and Ben conjured up this plan. Once we knew that we were buying the property, I said to Ben it would be a good idea to prank James, and I had this idea in my head of not telling him that we'd moved and working out a way to lure him to the house, and we would prank him. So from February to September, because that's when he came round to see Derek, or who we thought was Derek, we were conjuring up this plan. And there was various things that sort of played out between sort of February and September. I had a rewire in the house and discovered that there was a void under the floor behind the front door. So it's a good place to just conveniently drop a dead body and put a Bluetooth speaker with some shallow breathing. So that's what we did. So we conjured up this plan to get James under false pretenses to the house. He thought he was going to see Ben's neighbour, whose alarm was going off. But that wasn't the case. I was hiding in the house with Jen, and we had a dead body, and James was coming with Ben just to see what was going on in the house, basically. And it all stemmed from there, and with what happened, really.
Yeah, we had to tone down some of the ideas we did have. Trapping him under the floor in a cupboard, but we felt that was inappropriate.
Lock him in the house.
Yeah,
I was going to lock you in the house.
Yeah, and then call the police. But we thought that
just to give the Salty Tadpoles some background to do, because I realised that that's something I've not done initially, is I used to work with these two gentlemen, and we will probably have known each other for, I was trying to work this out, it's going to be about, 13, 14 years maybe?
I don't know. I mean, restraining orders, that was the first thing. That was.
Yeah, but we ignore that. We ignore that. We don't discuss it. We discussed this before. We have to pretend the restraining order doesn't exist. But no,
I'll be honest, meeting in that strip club, again, that was a bit of if you think that's starting our relationship.
The strip club was difficult, but the fact that you wouldn't even leave me alone and you kept following me around the building, I couldn't not be your friend.
You had my clothes. So
that's true. That's true. I mean, just because I thought they'd be a good fit on me, that's why I took them. I thought they'd look better on me than they would on you. but being very serious, how long will it be? Will it actually be that we've known each other? Because I've not worked for the company for I left around the 13-year mark, so now it'll be what?
15 years. 15 years. Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, James. I mean, when you started, you were like a strapping, healthy young man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
I don't know what happened.
You know, we thought you.
They ground me down, didn't they? Into fine powder.
You know, women were throwing themselves at him.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah. It all went horribly wrong.
And the only woman that will talk to him now lives about 6 hours away.
Well, that's it. Well, be honest with you, that's most women have met him. That's what they do. They move a long way away.
Well, to be fair, 6 hours is probably good now, isn't it? Well, I mean, normally it's like we're talking other continents. Normal for me now.
Restraining orders.
Yeah.
You know, court costs, lots of things. Yeah. But we're in a long time, and it's been I would say it's been a pleasure. But
you can't lie to me. You can't lie. None of us can lie and say it's been a pleasure. Yeah. Well, the thing was on this, and we will go back to describing, because you said there were things you had wanted to do, but you felt they were going to be too much. One of the things I mentioned on the first time we discussed this on the podcast was my actual reaction to this, which still I think makes me a terrible human being, because whereas most people would think, oh my God, this is awful, we must do something about this, I sighed and thought, oh God, this is really going to bugger this day up, isn't it? It was not. There could be some poor person that's hurt. It's when you said, what are we doing? I was like,
I would say in a positive is, when I went into a room, I went to him out of James's sight. So I went in the room. He thought at that point somebody's in the room, and I was with that person. And I genuinely thought, if you'd not come in the room, our friendship would you came in to rescue me, and I thought, I feel honoured that you did do that.
Aww.
I mean, to be honest with you, you cried, and the wet house in the hallway.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got me another pair. You got me another pair, so that was okay. But the crux of this was that the genius of this whole thing is that the pair. Well, firstly, Lyndon came up with this idea, but the pair of you kept stum on all this. So if we take it back to what you were saying, which is you'd moved house, Lyndon, and you had made the decision that you wanted to pull a prank on me.
Yeah.
And you'd spoke to Ben about this. So how did you obviously said there was work done in the house and the floorboards had come up and you realised there was a void. So you thought there's something we can do there. What formed what you were going to do? What was the whole thing where you thought that we'll do it this way? This will be the prank we pull.
We did start before the void. So we started off with a body in the hall. A bit like Cluedo. So the idea was that you come in and you see a full body, maybe wrapped in a rug, some of that nature. But the thing is, as time went on, we modified it slightly to try and make it a bit more realistic.
Yeah, I think we wanted it, like Ben said, we wanted it to be realistic. Having a body in a void under the floor, you can put speakers down there without seeing them. Obviously, you're not too close to the body, so, in that sense, how are you going to react to it? Is it going to look real enough? And it was a good size opening as well, so you could quite well believe that someone was down there. And as I say, in terms of there was some a safety net that we put in place, because with this Bluetooth speaker, when we pranked you, and there was shallow breathing, we didn't know at that time, obviously, how you may react. With your caffeine intake of a morning, that could certainly send you over the edge and you could start having a cardiac arrest. So having the body under there allowed us to use the Bluetooth speaker and putting the Phantasm line from the tall man in there, Welcome Home Boy, was quite sort of a pertinent line to sort of make you think in the back of your mind, well, wait a second, why am I hearing the tall man? And that, as I say, we did play that during the prank because you were trying to get in the living room and I wasn't expecting it, and I was banging the door back, and that was something that
I think we had to play it. Some of it was just, again, we didn't really know once you came for that door what you would do, so we kind of had to, at that point, there's a little bit where we played by ear at that point.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I think it was just a shock value because there's no way on earth you're going to think that he'd moved, and I think that was the bit. And we've been to Skipton, we've been to see him, and Lyndon had talked about his house and the fact he wanted to sell his house and all these things. I mean, I nearly part a couple of times, but all these things was just, you know, the fact that we both kept stum for that period was amazing. Months of, and COVID helped, unfortunately.
Yeah, it did that,
And long COVID as well.
Yeah. Loads of things that just mean that actually we had plenty of time to get away with it.
I mean, what I was going to say that was interesting, thing is that, excuse me, when it came to doing this, it is this thing. I mean, I was going to say, what do you reckon to this, Gemma? They saw me. Lyndon had moved, and I'd be having conversations with Lyndon like, you really do need to look at moving. And we'd be having a telephone conversation, a catch-up, and he'd be discussing stuff. He'd be like discussing the neighbour who hit my car, going, oh, yeah, she's gone past at really high speed. She's learnt nothing. So I'm assuming that he's still at the house. You know, I mean, I would say, you know, you pick on a poor, confused man who's had long COVID, who's already got brain fog. So really, you pick the ultimate. Yeah, you picked. Violin me. But you picked the ultimate, in a sense, very good person to prank because I'm probably not going to pick up on stuff. But I'll tell you one thing that was very interesting. When we first went to the house, you had obviously been saying this Derek guy is a bit weird, you know, bit of an oddball. So you'd said you didn't want Sarah, who's Ben's partner, to come down. So I'm thinking, okay. The reason I'm also a good mark on this one is the fact that I used to work in housing. So in my head, all I'm doing is running through like a housing run, going in with Ben, stuff I've done. With both Ben and Lyndon, I've done this in the past. My old work brain kicks in. But I go through the front door and I hear noise from a Bluetooth speaker. And this is on through my head. I thought, that's a bit weird. But they did say Derek's weird, so maybe this is something he set up. So if someone breaks in his house, it throws them off a bit.
Yeah. No, I think those that back, you're right. That we played on that a little bit, and they played actually on you genuinely that you would come along. There's no doubt that I thought if I said come along, you would, and that's.
You'd be scuppered if I'd said no, though, wouldn't you? If I'd gone, no, you're all right. You go on your own.
Oh yeah, I would.
I'll just come sit in the car.
That's the thing. We knew James had come along and that's the bit that we were certain about. That was going to be an issue. It's just how we did it. Really. So, I mean, people were worried at work. We mentioned at work, and they were worried about how you'd react to it and your health. And I did say if we go to the coroner's court on this one, it's going to be a really odd coroner's court. Explain this one. How did your friend die? Well, the heart attack was, caused by body under the thing. That case of. But
the other thing that was brilliant, and I think I mentioned this to you, Gemma, is the fact that Lyndon swore the barbers, which my father uses and Lyndon uses, to secrecy. He swore everybody at work to secrecy. So people I would have had some sort of possible communication with, all of them were sworn to secrecy. And everybody kept secrecy. Now, what I really want to know, and I'd like you to tell the Salty Tadpoles this and Gemma, what were the other things you had planned? Because you said you created this whole idea of doing other ways of pranking me. So what were the other ones you had? How extreme were you going to go?
Well,
how severe could it have been?
I'll give you extreme, okay? I was going to get a balaclava. I was going to have full military gear on. I was going to be at the top of the landing with an air rifle with a scope on it. Jen was going to hide at the side of the house, and when you came in, she was going to come round and lock you in, and I was going to come down with the gun. That's how extreme it was going to go.
What do you reckon, Gemma? Could that have been my heart attack?
Yeah, I think so. I think anybody would have had a heart attack at that point. So, yeah, it's probably a good thing you didn't do that one.
No,
I did actually make, at Hearts, I made a skull with, I tried to make with like flesh on it. It was going to go in the fridge. But again, just, it was one thing that might have been a little bit too grotesque, clearly.
You think?
I'm doing that for Halloween, actually, so that's fine.
Yeah. I was going to say, although I do think that the two of you should actually go into business together and actually do like a haunted house type thing.
Oh, yeah, I think that would be.
We could do that. I mean, I've got a friend who's a butcher, so I could have got a hold of any sort of organs and things, and they could have been just laid out in the hallway in conjunction with the body in the rug. But
I think, to be honest with you, I think both Jen and Zara tend to tone us down a little bit.
Yeah.
So my extreme thoughts, I'll tell you this now, actually. Probably my extreme thoughts came from my 6-year-old, who is obsessed with death and chopping people up. So he came up actually with a head. He said, put a head in the fridge, was his line. So we're going to have issues with that lad. But yeah, no, Zara and Jen were both very thoughtful about you and your safety.
One of the other things as well, James, is that, again, looking after your safety, I'd even informed my new neighbours on either side to tell them, if there's a lad that comes running round banging on your door, just call the police. Don't, it's a prank. And I explained to them what the prank is, and they thought it was brilliant. And what they did say is, oh, what time is it? When is it? Yeah, we'll watch for him when he comes round and we'll be listening. So I didn't tell you about that, but yeah, the neighbours were watching as well.
Yeah, so the street knows. But a lot of people know about it, so, and...
So the neighbours' curtains were twitching as this was all going on, and they were going, hey, hey.
Well, the only person clearly didn't know was obviously Muggins here. But I also want to know who made the body.
I made the body.
I thought it might be you.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I made a whole body, which was wrapped in a thing, but then we just chopped it up into just legs. But because it's where it was, this needed legs and boots, and so yeah, it was me then.
Because when
this nearly came to a complete disaster because I nearly died in the process of this process. Because as James arrived, my eldest was backing his car out of the driveway and can't drive, and nearly knocked me down twice. So that would have been scuppered. But fortunately,
he didn't understand the tap on the window.
No, it doesn't understand the fact you tap on a window and go to stop, or put your hand out like that, go stop, your hand out like that. He doesn't understand it. He just gets the point and thinks that means keep coming.
Because
I could have died.
In hindsight, what also became apparent is that I'd obviously parked further down the road. You moved me not only so your boy could get his car off the drive, but it also explains why Zara was so insistent that I had to put my wing mirror in to keep me further down the street. I kept thinking, why is she so obsessed with me? And she was going, cars will come down fast. And I got what I will call the Zara, you do what you're told to.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew at that point, I'm going to go and put that wing mirror in.
No, it was. It was a case that she went, I've told him. But I mean, so yes. Yeah, you got to do what she says.
When I saw the body, though, there were two things I think, and I said this to you, didn't I, Gemma, that I think part of my subconscious might have gone, you can hear Phantasm music, you can hear all this. It isn't as bad as it could be. The only two things I remember seeing is, because obviously I'm thinking, like, what the hell is going on? So I look and I see the body, and my initial thought was, has someone tried to break in? Have they got stuck in there? Have they hurt themselves? Could it be this sort of thing? Could it be that someone has died? The only thing that got me a bit was the blood, because I thought that doesn't look like, when I've seen dry blood, that doesn't look like dry blood. But when I got to the living room and hit Lyndon with the door, my thought, again, because the interesting thing is most people probably in this situation would not start going around the house trying to open doors. But that must be the former housing officer in me that's just like, right, because I probably would have just done a full house inspection if I'd not noticed anything. I'm like, right, I'm going upstairs, let's see what else is going on. Yeah. But the thing is, Lyndon took this to the nth degree because, and I was trying to explain this to somebody earlier today, you go in the house. Now, most people have things in a house that makes it obvious that there is somebody there. You know, if you look at in any room, you can tell somebody's there. Lyndon wiped it out. It was like empty. It's like you literally, because they're saying like, this guy's a bit weird, there's nothing there. So I'm thinking, well, he's living a bit of a Spartan lifestyle, this guy, but who am I to say? No, we go in, there's nothing there. Lyndon, to his credit, has a letter, an actual proper letter from some postal letter with Mr. D, whatever the surname was on, which ties to the Derek thing. So again,
and it was national holidays as well, and he'd gone on holiday, so it all tied.
You know what I mean?
You know.
You guys have really put the effort in. And the fact that you'd even thought of doing this before, I mean, from what you're saying, Lyndon, you'd thought of doing this prior to the idea of even moving. Really. It just a little germ that had been in there.
I mean, when you think about the actual prank, when would you ever get an opportunity to do something like this? And like I say, there's a lot of funny things happened when we bought the house, when it completed and things like that. But it was almost, well, we'll do a prank, we won't tell him, and we'll tell everybody else and we'll swear them to secrecy. It was almost like the film, what's it called, that comedy film with Jim, and he's on the webcam and everyone's watching him.
American Pie.
American Pie. Yeah, it was almost. Oh yeah. Well, it wasn't like that because you wasn't.
There's no naked woman or sex.
No, nothing like that.
It was just the idea of torturing this Jim.
Yeah.
Like putting him through a possible emotional breakdown. Yeah. But that's what friends are for. Yeah. Well, that's what I keep telling myself. I mean, I've got past the. I'll be honest. For the first few days, that's better. The first few weeks, I was getting the cold sweats at night, the flashbacks. The hand reaching out of the hole to greet me. I've got past that now. I mean, I can't really interact with people called Derek properly anymore. I just start screaming to hit myself like Rain Man. But, I'm sure I'll get there in about 7 or 8 years of extreme counselling and therapy to get over this.
Not that James is a drama queen or anything.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
I know,
not.
and this is it. We thought, actually, of anybody, this would have the biggest impact on him, because actually it's the sort of thing that actually he would, I think, enjoy.
Yeah, that's very true. I did enjoy it.
I think in the end, it's a bit like a perfect storm. It all happened perfectly. That for us, the fact that Lyndon moved near me, the fact that, it was unfortunately COVID was going on, but that all these things just made it absolutely a perfect thing to do. And to you, I mean, there was no one better we could have done this.
The thing I also had is when I walked into the room and actually saw you, Lyndon, and Jen, there is that moment where my brain couldn't quite comprehend what it was seeing, because I was just like, my initial first thought was, are they house sitting somebody? Which is a logical thought, though, isn't it? Because
that's what we are doing. We're back in the other house. We're back in the other house in 2 weeks.
No, that's the bit that I think I regret. We didn't get a video of you. But Jim, I don't know if you've seen James when he's confused, but it was the most. Look at his face was just pure of what is happening?
What the hell's going on?
What is going on? And that's the image that stuck in my head.
That's the best thing.
Show that to the world, because that was just like, what's going on here? And
the good thing is, at least I reacted positive. I hugged you. I didn't hit you. It could have been the other. Go on, then. Sorry.
I'm going to say you grabbed my ass as well, but that's okay.
Yeah, but
I know you've not seen me for a while, but
but it was very confused emotion to that point. I could have grabbed anybody's ass. You were just the best option at the time.
I just think, though, although saying that, Lyndon did take it to the extreme, because we decided that the body was going to be naked, but the body had clothes. Yeah, so that was just a little bit. Yeah.
Was the concern the naked body would be too alluring for me or something?
Yeah. Well, we won't get into the whole. When you worked in the funeral directors.
We're not going to talk about that. Yeah.
But for legal reasons, we're not allowed to discuss that one anymore. That's a complete.
No, we're not. No.
I feel I've been hogging this rather. So is there anything you would like to ask or know, Gemma?
Well, first of all, was there any video of this whole experience?
We did actually video it, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, may I see it? And if possible, can I share it with the Salty Tadpoles? Or can we share it with the Salty Tadpoles?
Yeah,
we will send it across.
It shows one of my best sides, and we'll leave it at that.
Well, your ass, your backside.
It does. No,
but when I'm trying to work out why there's a hole in the bloody ground with like legs in it, and you've got a camera stuck behind.
Yeah.
It's just, you know what I mean? Really, you know, I would have had a good camera looking up from the body, but you know, it worked out well.
It did work out well. I mean, obviously where the camera was located, it was on a radiator, on a magnet facing up. So as James and Ben came through the door, you see them coming from a low angle pointing upwards. So when James is looking down, Ben goes over to where the trap door is, and he's like looking around and, playing a very good part, by the way. What's this? What's the thing? You see James coming down, and he's back like that, and he's thinking...
My problem is that whereas Ben would give him the proper acting style, I just gave him the girls go wild angle, didn't I?
Yeah, and like I say, in terms of the actual video quality was very, very good because it was on your small camera, and so you'll see my face switching it on because soon as Ben's rang me to say, "Oh, are we okay to come round?" Yes. I'm then bending down, switching the camera on, ready. And it was only a minute or so after they were at the front door.
I mean, it's the same camera, same camera we used, obviously, to catch James in, the situation in the funeral directors. But we won't
talk about that.
Again, legal reasons we can't discuss that one.
Well, as you know, it's a very small camera. It can fit into very, very cramped spaces.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what was the other thing that should have given me, when you look back in hindsight, should have given me a clue, is the fact that, so obviously I knew, well, there were two things. Firstly, Lyndon was very, very excited about me coming to see him, which is understandable. I get that. Yeah. Lyndon's always very enthusiastic.
Always a happy ending when you come round, James.
Is that something to do with the glory holes in the basement?
That's the glory hole business. But I just thought my father's going to be listening to this, isn't he, at some point? But anyway.
Well, so doesn't he not know about the basement? He doesn't know about Ting Tong in the basement, but he does now.
I was going to say it's about time that your dad knew what you were really like.
Basically, it's going to be Red Pen, and as my father has always so kindly pointed out, he loves these two, I think, more than he loves me. Definitely. These two have definitely gone up in estimation, and I've gone way the F down. So, but the things that would have made it obvious when you look back on it is that I was getting very enthusiastic texts from Lyndon, and Lyndon is always enthusiastic about doing things and seeing people, and he kept mentioning Phantasm. Even more than Lyndon normally would discuss Phantasm when we discuss films. I was reading these texts thinking, he's very enthusiastic, even more enthusiastic than normal. And then, and he kept sort of saying, we're going to have this great time, boy, you'll be wonderful, etc. And then the other thing is, so I know that I'm seeing Lyndon, but I think I'm seeing Lyndon at Lyndon's old house. So I've got it in my sat-nav and everything. And we're in Ben's garden. Now, Ben's taking me to see his garden, which is very nice, but then he says, I'm going to ring Lyndon to tell him we're coming. And I'm like, but I've texted him. He already knows we're coming. Yeah, but I'll ring him anyway. So, in that, these things should have set off alarm bells. But because, again, I'm just going to say, you're with your friends, you assume it's a safe environment, which it was. You don't necessarily going to do this stuff. But it is brilliant. What I wanted to ask is, when you were telling people about this, you mentioned that some people were actually quite concerned that stuff might go wrong. What was the general consensus from people? Was it like, this is brilliant?
We're saying some people. I mean, probably one or two. Most people were, we had the sweepstake did well. But
when you say sweepstake, do you mean the Deadpool to see if I die?
No, it was death, mini stroke, or permanent coma.
Yeah. I was I was going to say, just to interrupt very quickly, ironically, on last week's episode, which secretly comes out this week, even though, don't tell anyone that we're recording 2 episodes in 1 week. But, yeah, we actually talk about a Deadpool between me, you and Joanne, don't we? Yeah. Who's going to go first? And I said, I've got dibs on James.
Well, even I have dibs on me. But what I would say is that when you mentioned like all 3 of us working on this program, you mentioned like, something in a void. And I was very disappointed, Gemma, that you didn't make any cracks about filling the void or, any sort of innuendo-based things. I work on a podcast with 2 women who have the most brilliantly filthy minds you can imagine. When I started on this podcast, I was like fresh as the driven snow, all pure thoughts. Gemma, poisoned the well, and Joanne basically just like poisoned the well, filled it in, and then threw a load of manure on top. It got that filthy. So if we had Joanne on this, the filth factor of jokes with you and Gemma and Joanne, boom, unbelievable.
You were never pure, though. I don't care about that. Never pure.
Well, there's no, yeah. Well, I'm just going to say I couldn't possibly comment. You may say that I couldn't possibly comment.
But I'll be honest with you, I have to say that this ways out. So this was an element of revenge, though, for walking in Skipton. So, Gemma, if he ever says to you, let's walk to the park to get an ice cream,
right?
Just say no.
Yeah.
Okay.
To be honest with you, the only reason he does that is to walk past what I can only describe as a number of schools. I won't get into that one. And then get there, and guess what? No ice cream.
No ice cream.
No ice cream.
None. He then walked us down to the canal. The bridge was closed. I mean, it was honestly, he nearly died.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, at one point, I thought Jen was going to just throttle him.
Yeah.
But,
It was like 24, 25 degrees Celsius.
Oh.
We're walking for miles and miles.
Yeah.
No ice cream, just lots and lots of schools. And, like, where's he taking us?
Can we just point out, it was on the schools, we went past the above 16-year-old girls' school. So I cannot say there's anything legally wrong with me being in that area.
No.
Restraining orders began.
That is true, but I have to say that, it's the spirit of the restraining order. The spirit, James, the spirit. not the actual words, the spirit.
The spirit of it, that's true, the spirit of the written law. Now, you mentioned ice creams, which is a perfect segue into something Lyndon set up, and this is going to be about, 4 years ago, this will be, which is Phantasm Day. Lyndon set up, if you think Lyndon doing the dead body shit is good, for preparation, I mean, you can tell Lyndon's good. You put in with Ben and you just create something unbelievable. But Lyndon should have made me aware that he was going to create something amazing with what he did on Phantasm Day. Because if I can see he can create something that good, frankly, I'm scared of ever going to Lyndon's house again. Or going to anything that Lyndon runs, because it'll just get better and bigger. But if you can tell us a bit about the Phantasm Day you did,
so Phantasm Day at the old house, we before we'd renovated the living room and dining room, had a projector and a screen fitted to the wall. So I thought it would be obviously watching all the Phantasm films to do them on the big screen, because I've never watched it on it. I think it was a 100-inch screen it was, with a HD projector, surround sound. You can't get Phantasm in a cinema, so let's do it at home. And this is well before COVID. And anyway, so I thought, well, that'll be good. I'll do that, and because I know James loves Phantasm, he got me into the Phantasm films. And then I thought, well, can I take it to the next level? What could I do to make it a better experience? So having a big screen, what I was able to do was put Morningside Cemetery. I did almost like a bit like a PowerPoint presentation, but on the actual film. So when James walked into the room, I'd built some props. It was all dark. There was a purple neon light. There was pictures from the movie on the wall.
Oh, cool.
I did. There was.
But you're missing one really integral thing that happened with this.
Yeah, go
I don't want to step on you, Linda, but I've got to set this one up. So this was all prepared to be done. Now, Linda had closed all the curtains, so you couldn't see anything when you got to the house. And I knew it was going to be a important day. I knew it'd be something on the B screen. This is how good Lyndon is. He blindfolded me to take me into the room. Now, I was quite excited when Jen was leading me in, blindfolded to a room. I was also very scared because...
just a second. Were you slightly disappointed in the end?
I was slightly disappointed that Linda...
A little bit.
I was slightly disappointed that Linda was there as well. But, when Jen was leading me in... But when I hear this voice of Linda going, Jen, can you lead James in? Because I'm literally blind as a bat at this point. And it was so disorientating. But anyway, so I was led into this room.
And then, so we had the screen on, took the blindfold off, and basically you had Morningside Cemetery in front of him, and there was the from the Phantasm film, if you're familiar, there was the gateway where there's two chrome bars, so I'd constructed them in front of the screen, and as I say, there was movie posters, there was props, you had the music on. And James he went silent. He went silent for a few seconds. He did not know what to say, and then it was, wow.
I mean,
and
literally,
that, so it was really, really good. Because like I say, James got me into Phantasm, probably some of my favourite horror films now. But to do that, I'd said to James, I'd love to do that again. With Phantasm or other films, I thought it was really good.
Well, let me know and I'll come up and I'll
we could do something. Yeah, definitely.
The thing that got me on that is you are right. It literally was the wow factor, and I'm not just saying this because I was on a radio show in America, and you became a topic of conversation because we discussed the Phantasm Day you'd set up. Because being realistic and being very honest, you are the only person who's done a Phantasm Day.
Right. Well,
there's nobody else.
That's cool then.
There is nobody else who's done anything to that sort of level.
Right.
And I would love to see you being able to do something like that on a proper larger scale.
Yeah.
I really think, because I honestly mean this. I'm not just saying this as a friend. I'm saying if you step back and look at the things both of you have done in constructing this stuff and other stuff you put together, people are missing a trick not having you doing this properly. And I was saying this to you, wasn't I, Gemma?
Yeah.
That Lyndon should be, and you as well, Ben, should be running things. If you look at, because if you think some of the conventions we have been to, we've seen good, we've seen bad. Lyndon and I went to one convention, first convention I've ever been to. You know what I mean, Lyndon? It was a bit lackluster, wasn't it? And I'm sure you could produce something better than that.
Yeah, it was.
And you boggled my mind, the stuff you produced.
I was going to say, to be honest, I'm sitting here thinking, why on earth are these two guys in housing? Why are you not actually doing something, like creative like this?
I do think sometimes, I think it's because we're slightly mental. I think housing kind of allows us to, be mental.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, everyone works and you've got your jobs, but in terms of sort of creativity, and can we do things like, events? Yeah, we can. With everyone, it's time and planning and things, but it's not beyond the realms of us being able to do these sort of things. It's just the planning and things, on a larger scale would obviously take a lot more resources and time. We could do it, if we had an audience saying that they were interested in doing, having such a film day and having props and making it interactive and things, then we can do it. And I think there's a niche market for doing that, because as you well know, with when I did the Phantasm Day, there's other sort of lower budget films that are like another one, a good one, Demons. Not a lot of people have watched Demons. Demons is a brilliant film. you know, and not a lot of people know about that. And it was a low budget film made in the 80s about zombies, demons, and it was an Italian director. I've forgot his name now. But anyway, that is now an iconic film. And if you were to do like a Demons Day, I know there would be a market because, you know, Arrow Films have recently, well, say recently, it was a good while ago, but they brought out a Blu-ray box set and they flew off the shelf. And then they did a 4K box set and they went straight away and limited edition. And that goes to show that there's a market there for, you know, doing these type of event things.
I think with James is, I'm quite great, I suppose, in some sense. And James gives you a little bit of the confidence to do certain things. I'll tell him stuff I was going to do, and he's quite positive about things, which is quite nice. So, in fact, I'm writing something about James at the moment, which is about the day that James Stafford dies, and it's like a thing where you die in every universe on the same day. So you inspired me to write.
Yeah. I was going to say, was that inspirational, wishful thinking on your part?
I don't know. I had somebody dying on the same day, and I just saw you.
But was this during like my depressive housing periods?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I just thought you was that sort of person that if you saw you die in a series every week, people would think it was funny. I don't know why. That does sound bad, actually. But
it's harsh, but I'm sure some people would definitely pay good money for that.
It's very original because I mean that, you know, I've talked to Ben about, you know, the stories that he's doing, but if you think about it, you've got a person in multiple universes dying at the same time, but what is that death? You know, so it would be an interesting series to find out. So he's died this week doing this. What's he going to die of next week? You know, it sounds weird, but it
did come out of me writing about, I don't know, for some reason, like 200 ways you could die. I don't know why I wrote that, but so it just, you know what I mean? It was like almost a hobby. So I'm trying to turn my hobby into something creative. So.
Please not into a practical situation, though. You know, because that would only be a one-off. There'd be no further series if that happened.
That is true, yeah.
So that's an edgy one. So if you were going to create, you know, being very serious, if you were going to run any sort of event, what would you go for? What would your chosen event be?
Can I go first?
By all means.
Mine would be, and I said it before, the Demons. And I know there's a big market. There is a market there to do that on the big screen, and to do like we did on Phantasm Day, to put props there and to have some conversation pieces in between watching. There was 2 movies made, but to have some conversation pieces there. I would even try and get some of the actors to, maybe they wouldn't attend because a lot of them are Italian actors, but if we could get interviews with them, you know, for the event, things like that, I think people would, they would be very interested, and I can get venues as well free.
Yeah.
You know, I can get, you know, quite large depending on the size of the audience, but I've got contacts where I could do that, you know, and get a venue, and it'll be a matter of getting a big screen and setting it up. But, you know, our creativity, we could do the props, and you could be a prop as well, James, you know.
I was hoping you'd say Gemma, I could do the interviewing, but I'm suspecting you just have me as like a death mask somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I do the interview?
I think we go with Gemma. She's more capable.
Yeah.
What? All right. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say Gemma and me, but clearly Gemma knows she's the more, you know, more professional, and I'll just be the dead guy in the corner. Well, that's very true. Yeah, I can't argue with that one at all. Why do you think that Gemma's been smart enough to be near the camera? I've moved myself all the way back. So Ben, if you were gonna, because with you. Well, I'm just intrigued because with Lyndon, I had an idea it'd be a horror related. With you, I'm not so sure.
See, it depends what day you ask me that question. So the day, and this would be probably my thing, would be, I'd say Where Eagles Dare is my favourite film of all time. And actually, interestingly, Quentin Tarantino loves the movie, and actually I think things like Inglourious Basterds is kind of homage to that. And I kind of want something based on that at the moment. That's what I'd go for. The classic war film, in a sense. But then if you ask me tomorrow, I'd probably go down the Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor route. You know what I mean? Anything, Gene Wilder, to be honest with you, is my hero, so I could go that route. So yeah, what day you asked me would depend on what I chose. But although the sad death of Gene Wilder ruins the whole thing. My dream would be interviewing Gene Wilder, but obviously. Yeah.
James comes close. He is a bit stir crazy.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
Very good, Lyndon. Very good. Gemma, if you were going to be running an event, what would you run? What would you want to do?
Oh, I mean, why are we asking these questions to me? I was sitting here quite happily just listening.
Well, I did want to bring you in. I'm intrigued. That's something I never asked you. If you could run something, what would it be? Who would you have? Who do you guess be? What sort of thing would you want to do?
I think I would probably do like a live podcast, because podcasting is obviously my biggest interest. And I guess you'd have to be there.
Yeah,
like,
If you had like your dream people on podcasts, who would like, if you had like, say three to join you, who's, it could be dead or alive, who would they be?
Yeah.
Can I just say I'm assuming that I will not be anywhere in these three people?
No, you would be.
I think that Gemma's might to say, Ben, Lyndon. Yeah, that'll do. We just need two. No more.
Dead or alive, you're kind of in between. You're like a zombie. So.
Oh, God. Well, with all my medical ailments, I'm starting to wonder if I'm a zombie, actually.
Well, no, on a serious note, James would be there by my side, because to be, not to be all, but, we have been doing this for 3 years. So I think that he should have, some of the fame and fortune if it came about it. But, one of the people I think James would definitely agree on would be Kevin Smith. The guy who sort of started it all for us.
True.
Oh God, who else? I'm trying to think, because I was, it's already been quite a few people that I'd spoken to. But, Ronnie James Dio. I'd love to speak to him. Because, he started the metal salute, or he didn't start it, but he brought it into metal, and I'd like to interview God to see if he's real.
You can never say Gemma goes small on these things, can you? I never honestly thought you'd be like, yeah, God. Wow. I'm starting to feel this whole podcast now feels a bit redundant, actually.
Well, yeah, you'd be there next to me.
I think
get smited, though, wouldn't I?
I mean, when you die, that might be when you get that interview. I think we all get that interview, hopefully. Such one. Yeah.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, definitely very interesting way of looking at it. I like that, Lyndon. That is a good way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask now, you would think, having known these guys for nearly 15 years, I would know the answer to this, but I don't think this is a question I've actually ever asked. So I'm going to ask all three of you the same thing.
Okay, I'll think about it then.
We've looked at the idea of running the perfect sort of event. I want to ask each of you, putting aside what you do for a living, if you could do anything as a career, what would it be and why?
I think you should answer that question as well, James.
All right. I'm not saying I'll answer it first. I'll answer it, but I'm not going to answer it first.
Right. So this is where I make money. So I can make money out of it. My dream, I suppose, I would love to have been is graffiti artist. That would be it. That was my dream.
Cool.
Not Banksy, but you know what I mean. But yeah,
the tagging stuff, I like it.
Yeah, I loved that. When I was younger, I did love that, and I think I would still love to do that.
So you're quite artistic then?
I think so. Yeah.
She said artistic, not autistic.
Yeah. Well, you're autistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I do. You know, I kind of love making stuff. Love the process, and I think that would be if I could make money out of that. That would be my dream. You know, that or Hugh Hefner.
Hang on,
well, before he died.
You want to be Hugh Hefner, or is this a sexual thing with Hugh Hefner?
No, I want to be him.
Right. Again, prior to death. Not right now. I mean, although if you were him now...
Is he dead? That's the question, isn't it?
But if you were him now, you are going to get to kind of look at Marilyn Monroe all the time. So, you know...
no, but see, I'm becoming...
I know it did the air... I'm going to do it. Look, air tits.
You have to. And then I wouldn't start... I'd ruin your life. I wouldn't start Playboy. You'd have nothing to do.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, I'm sure I'd find something to do.
Or someone.
It's a difficult one. I mean, I really don't know, but I like to do creative things. So for me, doing events, that would, you know, putting events on, whether it's film related or in James's case around, you know, sex and things. But yeah, I think.
I'm going to ruin the day I took you to on this.
I wouldn't do anything in a dungeon like James does. That takes a lot of guts. That, but no,
it does. I mean, but I just want to say, if you're doing the dungeon stuff, you've got to get lubrication, and you've got to get a lot of disclaimers signed.
Yeah,
a lot of disclaimers. But anyway,
who translates them for you?
I have a very good service that does this
Google.
for me. It's
Google.
Yeah. How did you know? Google Translate. Now, there could possibly be
just
Google
translation, but they've gagged, aren't they? So they were gagged.
Stop getting ahead of yourself. I'm trying to tell the thing. So Google Translate is very good because what normally happens is, you know, I have words translated for getting these people, these ladies. What they think they're being signed up for is something called a maid.
And they get made.
Well, they get made, yeah.
Again, for legal reasons, I couldn't possibly comment.
So yeah, creating events, and I would say, you know, if I had a lot of money, giving it to charity, you know, so children's charities, animal charities, you know, I'm not going to go political, but, you know, I don't believe there should be charities. Everyone shouldn't be in positions where they're struggling or they can't eat and things. So I'd like to do a lot of charity work aside from, well, I do that. I'm a Freemason, by the way. You won't know that, but I do charitable work. But I do believe more needs to be done for those that are more, you know, less fortunate, vulnerable, and animal welfare, because we've got a dog. And, you know, I'd like to do stuff around animals as well. There you go.
All right, Gemma, follow that one.
Yeah, well, I was going to say what's involved with being a Freemason, but I don't know if you're allowed to disclose that information.
Yeah, I mean, just I won't go into the depths of Freemasonry, but the second biggest charity behind the National Lottery.
Cool.
Anyone can become a Freemason. Okay. The reason I went into Freemasonry, it's not something that you actually just say, oh, I'm going to become a Freemason. You do your research and things, but you start to learn about you, you know, who you are as a person, what is the relevance of who you are, life. And then you go sort of into the historical side, going back to the biblical times to where we are now. And it's like it's a very interesting journey because we sort of live in this world where, you know, we watch Amazon, we watch TV, we work 9 till 5 or whatever, but you never take a step back and look at what is the significance of everything and existence, and it can go quite deep. So Freemasonry is really interesting, and the good thing is we're non-political, non-religious. You can believe in absolutely anything that you want. And we do, like I say, a lot of good charitable work for charities in the UK, local charities, overseas charities. And like I say, we put on events for families and things. So it's a really It's a really, really nice thing to do. Like I could talk all day about Freemasonry, but that's just a bit of an overview. Yeah.
It sounds cool. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We don't devil worship, by the way. You hear these conspiracy theories online that we worship Satan and we've got goats. When I joined, I wanted a goat. I took a carrot with me, and when I got initiated, there was no goat.
So you didn't have to like put your hand in and feel eyeballs and stuff like that.
No, I've done that at James's.
Yeah, so just to clarify this. Yeah. That's what happened. I was trying to join, but James sent me this thing that to slaughter a goat and cover himself in blood. I was a bit, and I didn't get in. I was shocked. Yeah. So James,
yeah.
Anyway, go on, you two. What are your?
James has muted himself, but he is laughing just so that everybody knows.
I just say I have an extra one that I do work currently with for a charity dealing with orphans, trying to connect them with their real parents, and we do DNA testing, that found a number of children who seemingly some blonde, tall,
blue-eyed
German person has just impregnated lots of women in Ashton and just abandoned the children. So we're trying to get together and work out who that is. I keep saying something called James, but I'm not sure.
And this?
Yeah, I think you're onto a high road to nothing. You'll never find out. I think you're wasting your time. Stop looking into it. I mean, this person could be anybody.
It happened between 2010 and 2018.
Yeah. Saying that, the question is, though, the girls keep saying it, a dazzling personality. So I obviously ruled James out of that.
Yeah, it can't be James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, no.
But a very, very, very small, very, very small.
Tread carefully.
They all like films.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine what kind of heartless bastard would, get all these women pregnant and never appear, pay child maintenance. But anyway, Gemma, so
is that James how you managed to have a posh house, posh car, and a posh watch?
Is this because I don't know what you're suggesting?
And go for your Swedish massages.
Fresh as the driven, yeah, and they are massages. It's not whatever you and Joanne keep telling me. It's not a rub and tug. It is a massage.
You get that down in the basement, don't you?
If I ask nicely, yeah. But go on, Gemma, what were you going to? What would you, if you could have done anything, job-wise? What would your dream job be?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but doing this professionally, full time. I mean, I always wanted to be a radio presenter anyway, so I kind of did a little bit of looking into how to get into that and whatnot. But actually, this is a lot more free doing a podcast, not free in the monetary sense, but, it's freeing in the sense that you can say anything that you kind of want within reason. Sometimes you have to edit yourself a little bit. There's been certain things that I've said and James has gone, you might want to take that out. And I go, yeah, actually, I think I might,
Don't you worry, because I'm editing this episode. I'm going to keep as much as I can in on this one.
Well, he's editing the episode.
Yeah.
I'm then going to re-edit it, so It's all good.
It's like Gemma has stated that I will say some things, but I think Gemma's almost like the legal disclaimer.
Yeah. I'll be, because I really do love doing all the editing and stuff. It's just that I know that I've got a really crap week of work next week. So covering for two people's work as well as my own. So I'm like, but anyway, I would love to do this on a professional level, and actually make money doing it, so I could actually live. But, that's why I've got a 9-to-5 job, so that I can do this. A bit like you were saying earlier, that you could do your events and stuff, because your job is kind of, if you're supposed to be using your job so that you have a life, not your job is your life. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, and I'm not going to go on about Freemasonry, but that's where you take that step back. You sort of step out of yourself and look at the bigger picture, not just in the world, in the universe, which might sound a bit out there, but
yeah,
there's a significance for everything. You know, there's a reason why we're all here, and there's a reason, you know, we do what we do. But no one ever sort of goes into that, really. When you go to school, they don't go, right, by the way, James, I'm going to ask you a question now. Why were you born, and what is your purpose? And you go, oh, yeah. I don't know. And no one really talks about that. And that's, again, why I like Freemasonry, and why probably my mind's more creative, because I'm always thinking outside the box. And
yeah.
You know, and there we go. If you, like you say, if we didn't have to work 9 till 5 and do a job, what would we do? And I'm sure we would be better for it.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Less stressed.
I also think Gemma's side job would be killing and skinning hamsters to turn into microphone covers.
Yeah.
Fluffy mouth.
That does look like it. That is.
It's one of those Siberian hamsters.
Yeah.
I was saying, I've purchased for Halloween what appears to look like a dead rabbit, a black and white dead rabbit. And my daughter has
You've already got rabbits.
She has a live rabbit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it to the dog and get her to run in and go, Elise, the dog's got the rabbit, and see what happens. So Zara said that's cruel and heartless, but I think that's a genius idea.
But what I would say is it ties in perfectly to something that, in fact, Gemma and I, we discussed this, that in certain we have discussed this, haven't we? In certain professions, you end up getting a very dark sense of humour.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we three definitely got a dark sense of humour from the job I used to do, the job they currently do, the housing role. You end up, and I think it happens a lot also if you work inside the police and those sort of service areas, you end up having to have a dark sense of humour to survive. Because some of the stuff, and it will play into something we're going to discuss later, some of the stuff you see in housing is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. So I raised the question of any sort of job you could have, so I have to answer it fairly myself. So for me, obviously, international playboy, as much as I want it, isn't a career move. So probably, and it's actually something I did once discuss. I think I might have discussed it with all three of you at some point, but I definitely discussed it with Ben. I would love to do basically what Stephen Colbert does. I'd love to do that as a job, to be a talk show host. Okay. I think I'm probably reasonably good at it, but I know it's a hell of a long shot. But if I could do anything, it would probably be doing some sort of late night, talk show like that. I would like to think I'd be better than the Chevy Chase show, because that lasted all of 6 weeks.
Or
It was
James
a dismal
Corden.
failure. James Corden strangely seems to have been liked. I'd like to have, but yes, he also has a lot of people dislike him. I'd like to think I could do it with more integrity than Jay Leno.
I do think he'd be quite good. You know what I mean? I do think though that obviously he wouldn't last long, because the stories about you come out.
We could do it almost like.
Obviously, we'd sell the stories to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know that would happen. I'd have to get a really good restraining order against you three, one of those gag things, non-disclosure orders. But yeah.
We could get some of your former tenants on it. It could be almost like Jerry Springer.
You could do a good Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Yes, it would, but it'd be, to be fair, it'd be the cross between Jerry Springer or the Jeremy Kyle show. But I'd like the fact you could have James's thing where I sum up at the end of it. I'd be there going, we've heard some really heartwarming tales of violence and issues of people having affairs, but it makes fucking good television. That'd be my sign off.
While they're punching you.
Well, I think that we should move on to because normally at the end of our episode we usually have stories of the week, but I think that we should have housing stories of the decade, week, whatever. What
have been the shockers?
Have you what kind of experiences have you had doing your jobs?
Everything you can think of.
Yeah.
You think of the worst possible properties that you go in, dealing with the worst possible tenants, finding bodies. For me, if I'm going to tell you about a story or about something that I've encountered during housing, because I could talk for the next few days, I'd have to think of something I dealt with that was crazy.
I think, I'll be honest with you, and I don't even remember this, you found I was off once, and you found a body in one of my tenants who she died and she had nothing in the house. And there are people who, and some shows are aware of this, who they sell all their furniture. So they live in empty properties. And it's a psychological thing. That's the empty the property. And she died, but she died on the floor, and the floor was concrete.
Yeah.
And so it kept her cold. And so she died a couple of weeks before.
Yeah.
And those things that you go, whoa, and it's things like that. And you think, and it's the things where people dying who've got no one and are not found and things like that. So I think those are the ones that are heartbreaking to think that actually, to be not to be found, not to be noticed is an awful thought.
Only to know that somebody has passed away because of the flies at the window or whatever.
Those things, and before that, the only person to think about was your housing officer. Yeah. He's really pretty. That'd be an awful epitaph or something. But then we have, I don't know, we've had crazy people who. Drunks who just all sorts. Really.
I'll give you a good story. I'll give you a good one for your. What do you call your viewers? Salty tadpoles.
Salty tadpoles.
Yes. See? Yeah.
Well, Ben told us a story about a salty tadpole yesterday as well, didn't he?
Well, yeah, that was Liftgate. Was it called? Liftgate.
Yeah.
So I was working in a tower block, and the office that I worked in was based in the tower block. And one day the police came to the office and said, we're looking for someone. Have you seen him? And can you give us keys to get up to the floor so we can go to the flat? So I gave him a fob key, said it's such a floor, such a number, off you go. So I'm watching the cameras, and the next thing, I see this window open. It's either on the second or the third floor of this building. So you're talking a good 30 to 40 foot. So it's quite high. It's not somewhere where you'd want to be falling from. But anyway, so I'm watching the cameras, and then I see this blanket come out the window. Now, if you can imagine, I don't know, a film like Indiana Jones, where this particular tenant has made a rope out of bed sheets because he's caught the police van opposite on the car park and thinks, oh, they're coming for me. So he gets the bed sheets, he knocks them up, and he throws them out the window, ties them to something inside of the flat, and then he proceeds to climb down this rope, this bed sheet rope. The only problem being, when he's made this, it's not long enough. In fact, it's far too short. It's at a point where he's coming down and he realises, oh dear, it's too short, and he can't climb back up. So the only thing he can do is he can drop, which he did. And I didn't know at the time, but so he dropped down, he landed on the floor, he got up, and then he hobbled off very slowly, but he managed to get away. And then I found out later on that he'd broken his ankle. And the funny thing about this was that the police weren't even looking for him, they were looking for someone else.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's I mean, there's been all sorts. Like I say, in fact, I'm probably going to write a book. When I do finish in housing, I'm going to call it something along the lines of Tales of a Housing Officer. And they actually did. Yeah. I've actually appeared on TV. Did you do the Neighbourhood Watch?
I did, but unfortunately I was never videoed.
Right. So the BBC did a documentary on housing officers called Neighbourhood Watch. This was back in 2010. Okay. And I was on several episodes where the cameras were following me. And this was more in relation to vulnerable people. The sad stories where people are living in squalor, got no family, got no friend. And that was, you know, it was nice to do that so that get an understanding of what really goes on in people's lives and behind closed doors, because there are some terrible tragedies, aren't there, I would say, and the way people, well, you can't even say it's living, it's an existence, and they've got no, you know, they've not got anyone in, you know, in their lives, and they've got nothing really, have they? Like you say, when you think that it's the housing officer or the care coordinator that are their sort of family, you know.
But I mean, I think that was, I was going to shout out to Paul Spencer, who works another park company now. He was on this video, and he was seen chasing chickens. So many chickens got out. So in the video, they showed him chasing chickens and getting chickens into this van. And that was this idea, though. And it was really quite funny and on there. But Paul left and went to another organisation. And I went to a meeting with the organisation, and they were saying how great Paul was, what a professional he was. So what he'd done, he'd gone somewhere else. He'd rebranded himself as a senior, well-experienced officer, someone who could be trusted. And I said to them, so as Paul shows the video of the chickens, and they went, no. So I kindly emailed them the video of the chasing chickens. So he's gone into work being all well respected and seen them all around the computer laughing and watching him chasing chickens. So it ruined his complete reputation as the organisation. And I think his wife was really annoyed. But again, it was, so, you know.
But what I will say is, someone who's worked with Paul, he is very good.
I think the thing is, it's about, I think we've all, in-house, we've all got to be slightly mad.
Oh, yes. Insanity is definitely a plus.
You're not going to cope. You got somebody one day telling you to F off and calling you I had one guy who genuinely, in a meeting, he told me that I was a CUNT. He threatened to punch me. At the end of the meeting, he gave me a hug. And it's like you go from one extreme to the other, just genuinely. And this guy was a huge guy. But that's just, you know, how you have to...
And that's when you met James. That was James, when you first met James.
Well, my behaviour has improved since then. I've become a much more lovable person. Also,
he says funt instead now.
I say funt. I don't use the C.
I don't like the C word, so that's why. Thank you for spelling it out. So, yeah.
Yes. It's a word that gets used quite a lot about us, which is
yeah.
It does. Having been there and done that, I can attest that the interesting thing, certainly with Lyndon and Ben, is that both in life and in work, we have been through, I was thinking about this only recently, we have been, as friends and colleagues as well, we've probably seen each other through some of our worst things that have happened to us in life, but we've still kept reasonably sane. I say reasonably sane, and we've stuck together. So... Interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff.
I'd just like to add as well, James, obviously, you know, our relationship was obviously after the nightclub. You know, we both got jobs at the same place, so we wanted to be close to one another. Yeah. But that aside, you know, through the Phantasm film franchise and the Morningside, you know, it was through that film that we named our new house Morningside, as a tribute to the film, and that was officially named this week, because we had to go through the local authority to do that. So thank you to you, James, for you know, getting me interested in Phantasm, because we've got a lovely name for the house now. So yeah.
Apparently, you can also do it in Skipton. We've applied for James' house to be renamed as Ping Pong Laundry. We're just waiting to come through. See how that works.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't have to be the homeowner that applies for it.
Yeah, anybody.
So we've done that. Yeah,
just as a surprise.
Well, that's just kind of spoiled his Christmas present.
I mean, you spoiled my Christmas present now. I'm very touched that you've done that. Yeah.
I do have a plan for James as a possible next prank for him, which I will be discussing with Lyndon, which I think will be amazing. So, and he won't see it coming.
You won't see it coming, James.
No, I guarantee.
Well, as long as the prank doesn't involve blinding me, I look forward to seeing what it will be.
It'll be far worse than that. It'll be far worse than that. Home Not Alone is not even going to be a quarter of what's going to be planned for you.
Will you be able to show your face in Skipton again? I think not, but It's all good.
So it'll all be worth it. I mean, I would say we've gone from the lovable tribute from Lyndon discussing Phantasm and Morningside. What I will also say is, A, it's a pleasure that I managed to allow you to know about those films. And B, thank you for letting me unveil your house plaque. Because that was a nice thing to do.
It was very fitting because A, it was Morningside, and B, you were the tall man. So that fitted very well with the with the theme of the day as well, because we watched Phantasm. So no, thank you again for doing that.
Yeah, because I've got the box set, but I just haven't opened it yet. Because I was explaining this to James yesterday, because we had a quick because we tried to record just the Salty Tadpoles Day. We tried to record this episode yesterday, but unfortunately, the two gentlemen as our guests, they were robots yesterday. It didn't work at all, did it? So. Me and James were like having a chat just quickly afterwards. Quickly, it was about 25 minutes worth, but anyway. And, but I was saying about the fact that I've got the DVDs and I do want to watch them, but because of like Netflix and, Amazon Prime and whatnot, I forget that I've got a DVD player. So I forget to actually use it, kind of thing. So I do need to crack on and actually watch those films, because I have wanted to for quite a long time. So yeah, I need to pull my finger out and get on with it. Yeah.
So all I can say is it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I'll just say this for the Salty Tadpoles: these two are my close friends. What on earth would my enemies do to me?
I still think that.
I'm also very thankful that they are my friends, because they are my enemies. Oh dear God.
Well.
Oh dear God.
You think they're your friends.
Depending on what prank.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That.
Yeah.
Say keep your friends close, but enemies closest.
Exactly.
That's what, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
They don't know it yet, but obviously, just, And be honest with you, the key point here is, as we keep saying to James, is have you written your will yet?
And we keep saying that to him, and he doesn't understand why.
Now, once his will's done, then we'll,
But now the question is, why does my coffee always taste of almonds that you keep giving me?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Almond milk, wink, wink.
Yeah.
Or as I like to really say, almond milk.
You know what I mean? It might be, but, if Gemma might be able to help us on some of the planning in future, for that sort of.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
I think we need to do that.
I was thinking like those headphones that with like, maybe give electric shocks. Something like that.
Yeah.
But murder works one day if we do truly love James, and, I think our love, will be shown by his death.
It'll be reflected. Yeah, definitely reflected in.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And senior Mr. Stafford, if you do listen to this episode, we're a little bit sorry.
Yeah, this will be a good one if Dad and collective friends listen to this. As I said, my father actually prefers them over me. So,
oh yeah, good point. So we're not sorry then.
No.
The worst thing, James, is you'll miss your eulogy, and that will be an amazing speech about you, your life.
Yeah.
And,
I can believe it.
That he caused the coffee famine, that kind of, that will be.
Saying that though, if we record it beforehand and play it before he dies, that would probably be the idea.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Write that down.
Yeah, I think that'll work. I'd like to be involved in this, so yeah, I think that'll work.
I think we should all write a eulogy for James. I'm going to do that tonight. I think.
Well, on that front, I would say I think we have probably been talking of Codswallop at this point. What do you think, Gemma?
Well, no, because I really want Ben to tell his story about the man in the lift.
I will.
Oh, okay. We'll reverse that one. The lift story, right?
Yeah.
So, an individual, and I can't say the individual who the individual was, entered a lift in a building somewhere in this locality, and decided to masturbate, to then ejaculate onto the lift buttons,
like you do,
and then he licked the lift buttons. Now, I told this story to Lyndon before his lunch. He was due to have chicken soup. He did not eat.
I won't eat chicken soup again.
Yeah, exactly.
I won't even have mushroom soup then.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so it was one of those stories you're thinking, how is this possible? It could happen, But yeah, very.
You clearly like the taste of salty tadpoles.
I'd say
Perfect.
And on that one, I'd just say, apply for housing, kids. It's a fun learning experience, to put it mildly.
Mum, the buttons are sticky.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
do you know what though? I went in that lift today and I touched the buttons, and I did it. I went, I've got no hand sanitizer. That's a wander around to find something to wipe my hand with, just in case. So
You might have got pregnant.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what James does, that sort of thing. He puts things in his finger. We'll get into the whole thing, what James does.
He is the sperminator.
Yeah. That's why he's got big hands. He's got donations.
Yeah. And all I can say is
on that
bombshell, I feel we have been talking enough Codswell. What say you, Gemma?
I think you're right, James.
So, I was going to let you take us out on this one, Gemma, because it's.
Well, I mean, you've just taken my outro line, so.
Okay.
Well, in that case, then, chaps, I think that we've been talking enough Codswallop this week. I have been Gemma.
I am still James.
Ben and Lyndon.
Yeah, we're still talking Codswallop, and we will be when this show ends.